go.
Are you guys already started?
Podcast number 9, bitches. September 20th.
Already done.
And we're just signing off. What do you guys think?
All right, stop bullshitting.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend, the end.
All right, waiting on Diego. We're doing Apocalypse Now versus Platoon this week for podcast number 9. And Matt Plessinger here again with Diego, Brian, and Jason, and we're ready to get going. And I think Diego has to start us out with a quick review. And
Wait a minute.
Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Well, we have to drink
Wait a
first?
minute. Yeah, we got to tell about we're drinking first.
No, we don't have to tell them about the drinks yet. No, we don't have to do that yet. Well, I think we
never remember.
What we owe to the audience to just recap. The new format started last week. We all liked it. It was Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon. Die Hard won in a landslide. And as such, Diego is not allowed to watch Die Hard ever again in his life.
Yes.
But that's on the honor system. So we had to give him some punishment, and the punishment was a loosely related movie. Alan Rickman, we all decided, was by far the best bad guy in those movies. Probably the best actor in those movies.
Definitely the best actor.
And as such, we felt like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was a good representative movie of his other skills and the other movie franchise that he's obviously made famous with Severus Snape, the character that he plays. So in that vein, Diego, please proceed with your review of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Okay, first I'm going to say that it's impossible for me to give a good review because I have never seen any of the other Harry Potters. So I had no idea what the hell was going on. And
you didn't read the books, right?
Hell no, I didn't read the books.
I don't think it's going to matter because your reviews are shit for the movies that you have seen.
First of all,
ignore that, and just start with Half-Blood Prince, please.
Let me just start with the movie was shit. And I can't believe any of you sat through that movie. I wanted to slit my wrists most of the time I was watching that movie.
Wasn't it over 2 hours?
It was 2.5 hours of pure hell.
See,
you didn't like parts.
That's a bonus.
It was. I mean, I liked.
And
Come
that's
on,
the
Diego.
one too,
Be
the
fair
Harry Potter
now.
fans. That's the one Harry Potter fans don't even like.
Diego. These books they've outsold the Bible. They're incredibly popular. The movies actually, if you read the books, the movies actually did a pretty good job of depicting the books. A lot of times, the movie's so much better than the books, and clearly you got to leave stuff out. But J.K. Rowling, the author, was a big part of the movie production, so it did follow it pretty well. Now I understand picking it up midway had to suck, but there had to have been some parts that weren't terrible.
Okay, first of all, in case you didn't know, I'm not 12 years old. So it's kind of hard for me as a 41-year-old, soon-to-be 42-year-old man to review that movie without, just basically wondering why you guys want to torture me.
He's 40. He's a man.
Yeah,
he's a man.
I mean, seriously, it was atrocious.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid.
Come on.
Atrocious.
There had to be at least one. Was there one good part? Was there one?
Hans Gruber had some nice
one
spells.
good part.
Yeah, one good part. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was probably seeing Alan Rickman just in a role, period. Anything he does, I love. So,
What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene?
With him.
Oh, with him? Probably when he kills... what is his name? Voldemort. There's Voldemort.
Dolomite. When he kills Dolomite.
There's Voldemort, and then there's
Matt. This is even better than I imagined.
Dumbledore. He kills Dumbledore.
Yeah, you're right.
Killed that
Dumbledore.
I'm gonna have to give Brian mad props for picking this movie because this is just like the funniest type of movie for someone to review that's never had any background of this book or movie. It's just awesome. Continue. Continue. We're in suspense. What was this movie about?
So this movie's about some fucking annoying little kid with glasses who is supposed to be like some amazing wizard who likes to wave this drumstick around and cast spells on things. And he basically he meets some old guy at the beginning of the movie when he's hanging out in like a diner, hitting on some black chick, and the old guy makes him leave, and he's all bitter that he can't hit on the black chick because he's digging her.
Really hot. She's hot.
Digging him.
She was into it too, man.
Yeah, so
he's a rock star, man. That's like, she recognized him, and he's a rock star in the Wizarding World.
Well, so the old guy sends him some weird fucking dimension or some shit, and tells him about some plot or something that this Voldemort guy who we don't even see except the young version of him in the movie. So we see some fucking young kid who apparently is an evil bastard, and he's hanging out at Hogwarts early on in the movie, and they do all these flashbacks to his Hogwarts days. And apparently everybody knew he was going to be some evil fuck. That's basically the movie. Oh, and then that evil fuck, who we don't see, tells everybody else what to do, and basically they want to kill the old guy with the long hair.
Hey, how about they spent like half the movie with the blonde-headed kid trying to get in that chest to like get in the... And he was in the room the whole time trying to figure out
no idea what that was about. I just know that he was tasked with killing Dumbledore, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He's a total wuss. So so Hans Gruber had to do it.
This is so wonderful.
I watched like the first half of it with Diego the other day, and I was trying to explain to him like what all this stuff was going on. It was hilarious.
Now, I will say. Freaking Harry Potter should have gone after Emma Watson. I don't know what's up with that. Why he didn't end up?
He likes the redheads.
Apparently
he likes the firebush.
And that's his friend's sister. Yeah.
Yeah, his buddy's sister. His buddy's sister.
His buddy gets Emma Watson, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
I mean, long term, obviously in the movie you can tell she's into him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely saw it, and I don't know what I saw, but that's the best I can do.
That's pretty close.
Who
was the Half-Blood Prince?
That was
Lindsay
Hans
Lohan
Gruber.
Played Hermione.
Hans Gruber is the Half-Blood Prince.
Snape, that's right.
He is the Half-Blood Prince.
All
Did you guys ever see that Saturday Night Live clip where Lindsay Lohan played Hermione Granger?
And they came back from break, and everybody was staring at her. That's the best role that Lindsay Lohan's ever done.
Agreed. Agreed.
I saw Lindsay Lohan in a movie that Ted Cruz tweeted the other day. It was really good.
I don't think that was Lindsay Lohan.
First of all, do we really think that he tweeted that?
Yes.
You really think that? I can't believe that.
It was after midnight.
He was relatable for 5 seconds.
Yes, he's kind of human. It was after midnight, and somebody's on his personal account, what are they looking up where that even comes up to begin with? For him to even
I'm not doubting that he watches porn. I'm saying I can't imagine that he would like a porn star.
I think he did it on accident.
Yeah, serious
as he was flipping through stuff. Or he seems somewhat human, and I probably don't think he goes out behind his house and digs up night crawlers and eats them anymore.
By the way, did I tell you guys I have a hot girl in my apartment right now she's wearing freaking yoga pants.
Hey, white boy, what you waiting for?
I'm sure she's really impressed.
How many PSI did it take her to get her to the
Does she like a bunch of random...
Did it take to blow her up? That was good. I'll give you credit. That was funny. She's real. Would you say hello real quick? Say hello.
Hello?
Hello? Ma'am, are you in trouble?
Hello.
Are you being held without help?
Trouble?
Say the number 23.
She's in trouble. She just doesn't know it yet.
Diego's pickup line is, does my hand smell like chloroform?
So
I love that line. Is that from a hall pass?
If my wife wants to divorce me after hearing me do these podcasts, then the girl you're trying to date, what is she going to do? There's no way. She's being held without against her will. It's room 2, Diego's revenge. Or
Diego, impress your date and give us your rating of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, please.
My rating of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is, it's got to be a 3.
3 out of
and
what?
it is a 3 out of 10. I always do 10.
No,
you know
3
this.
What though? You gotta.
3 out of 10 avocadabras.
No.
Avada Kedavra.
I don't.
It's Leviosa.
Yeah. Jeez, Pete. 3 out of 10 Dobbies, the house elves.
3 out of 10. 3 out of 10 Hans Grubers.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
All right.
3 out of 10 Half-Blood Princes.
So as we set the table for this week, what's everybody drinking?
I am drinking champagne.
Champagne?
Because the woman that is here gracing me with her presence
Thinks you're gay? Not that there's anything wrong with that.
she brought yoga pants and champagne.
Is that a Portuguese drink?
That's not bad.
Are those the right size for you?
All right.
And a movie. She also brought a movie, actually.
Nice.
What's the movie called? The Man
Did
from
she
Uncle.
like Harry?
Definitely Hallows Part 1.
Did she like? I was gonna say, did she like Harry Potter? I hope so.
She's never seen Harry Potter. She's seen half of one, and she thought it was terrible.
Is that a nickname for your penis?
All right, can we get back on track here? I just wanted to let you know that if I had to talk to somebody in the room, there was actually a human being in the room.
Yeah.
So.
Held against their will.
Yes.
All right. So Matt, what are you drinking?
Does he understand how podcasts work? That you're supposed to put on
this is
iTunes for people to listen to.
He's
stunning audio. All right, Jason, what are you drinking?
I am fighting some sort of cold or something, so I'm going with the old hot toddy. I have
NyQuil?
Tea. I have honey. I have lemon, and the most important thing, Maker's Mark, on a lot of it.
Ooh, I like that. That sounds good.
Nice.
Yeah, my throat feels like gravel's been up, scratching up and down the whole day. So I'm just trying to get through this.
Well, I can only imagine what you did with your throat. Get that way.
Yep, yoga.
All right, what do you guys drinking? Besides the
Well, we've been through. See, I'm drinking Dirty Little Freak from Dewclaw Brewing. It's some kind of brown ale, and I like it.
Ooh,
Where's
I like
Dewclaw Brewing located?
Dewclaw, I don't know. That's and I turned all the lights off in the damn house, so I can't see.
But
By the way,
your wife watching something loudly on TV? That's what I want to know.
By the way,
she was. I don't know what she's doing now.
guys, this can't go more than an hour. Otherwise, my guest might not like me afterwards. So. No, you're not leaving. You're not leaving.
Leave, honey. Please, you should leave now.
This is the Hotel California.
You should really leave.
That's not creepy at all.
You can check out any time you like, but your skeleton will never leave my closet.
I see him chase his date away like American Psycho with like a chainsaw.
Oh my god, Diego, is your couch covered in plastic? And are you trying to Phil Collins right now?
Couch was covered in plastic.
Phil Collins is on the radio, or Huey Lewis.
All right, guys, we got to get back on track here.
Right, let's get back onto this thing. So and then Diego had champagne. That's right. What are you drinking, Matt?
I am having a little Bacardi.
Bacardi,
eh? Did you get it at Costco?
No, I did not. Actually, yeah, I did. I did.
That's called Costcarde.
Costcarde.
I didn't have any bets, but I felt I still have some allegiance to Costco, so I had to pull up what I did still have from Costco.
Did you mix it with anything?
A little bit of Coke.
Oh, there we go.
Nice.
All right. Yep.
Captain.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into this thing. So we went from two lighthearted kind of popcorn action movies in the first episode to two of the most depressing movies I've ever seen. In two war movies, I don't even know who nominated these two, but we have Apocalypse Now and Platoon.
Diego, of course.
Two of the.
I think it was me.
I don't know if it was Diego, was it?
No, I think you came up with the idea, but I picked.
This would have been 2.5 years ago. Come on, who remembers?
Someone listened to that podcast.
Let me just tell you, you guys are lucky I didn't slip my wrist because Ohio State got smoked by Oklahoma, and I watched both of these movies in the same weekend. I think I wanted to kill myself. So I made it through.
Well, dude, you had the bowl game last year. It's not like it's been that long since you experienced that.
Yeah, but I didn't back it up with 2 war movies where you want to just kill yourself.
Yeah, these type of movies aren't really great. Watch the back to back and try and have a discussion about, because
no, it was rough.
It is extremely depressing.
It affected my psyche not at all.
Aspects. And
I will say, you got 2 movies that were up for a bunch of awards. Platoon won best picture and best director, and Apocalypse Now was nominated for both. So, and you had in both movies, you had a supporting cast actors or best supporting actors nominated. So 2 widely critically acclaimed movies, and I think popular movies too. I don't know. I don't remember.
They're popular, and they're
where
both on the
Apocalypse Now was, but
they're popular, and they're both on in the top 100 U.S. movies of all time as well too. Like that's so they have a lot of least recognition out there in the world that or at least in the U.S. that these are well done.
Anyone
movies.
else besides Brian watch Heart of Darkness, the making of Apocalypse Now?
I didn't only because it was too much. Like I'll tell you right now, I've never been a big Apocalypse Now fan. Watching it again made me realize like I just don't enjoy the movie. Like the first part of it, the first third of it's pretty good, but once they start getting on the river and going on their mission, it loses me. It gets too psychological drama and crazy and it's more flash and style or a substance at that point. Whereas like Platoon, that movie is consistent in what it wants to do and show you, and it's a pretty coherent storyline, and like it is an amazing cast of people that I forgot how many different people were in that movie since the last time I saw it.
I think you're a little biased just because you want Diego to watch Sniper instead of Island of Moreau.
I thought I got to pick the punishment movie.
Well, hold on. Before we get too much into the analysis of the movies, JJ, why don't you, because you'll do the quickest, I think, synopsis of both movies. Hey, that's not a bad thing. I don't care as long as I win, I don't care.
So essentially, Apocalypse Now takes place in Vietnam. A Green Beret colonel has gone rogue, has created his own cult of natives and other military or civilian people to do basically covert missions against Viet Cong, their leadership. And the U.S. Army wants to, of course, not let this get out and stop him. So they hire another Army officer who's, I don't know if he's really an assassin, but he's meant to be an assassin, to go seek out this guy and essentially kill him. Again, this is right in the middle of the Vietnam War while this is going on. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, too, that don't they set him up, or did he actually kill some people where he was accused of killing?
He had killed before. Yeah, he had definitely done it before.
That's right. And that was part of the leverage I think they used to send him out there. But anyways, it's really, it starts out as like a little bit traditional, maybe a war movie, and then delves into very much of a psychological drama, I will say. Platoon is a war movie.
Psychological from the beginning? It seemed kind of...
the opening scene, that is, but then it gets a little.
Well, let's not get too. Hold on, before we get too much into the analysis, let's go on to Platoon and talk about it, because again, we're comparing two, obviously not only war movies, but 2 Vietnam era war movies made not terribly long after the end of the war.
Correct. And so Platoon is a little bit more coherent, direct storyline about a person's experience with the Vietnam War. Basically, it is a well-to-do kid played by our favorite before he was crazy, Charlie Sheen, who decides to drop out of college and enroll in the military to try and make a difference in the world. And he learns basically about how dark and just the war is, and basically that was a very bad choice that he made. So it follows him and his platoon that he fights with through, I don't know, I'm not sure how long the time frame is, whether it's a couple months or whatever, but through some major skirmishes throughout the jungle, and then a last kind of ditch campaign that kind of ends in essentially everybody dying except for our valiant hero Charlie Sheen, and then he comes back from Vietnam a changed man.
I think it was about I think it was probably about 2 months.
It's probably 2 or 3 months. I mean, there's no set time frame. He comes in.
They had 1 year.
He was talking about they had a year.
That was basically the way it was done back then.
How
right,
like it was only in 40 days or something. That was
but he got.
That was one of the major differences.
He got to go home.
Yeah, that was one of the major differences between Vietnam, obviously, and one of the reasons it was such a contentious war back home, and differences now. There was a draft, obviously, until after after Vietnam, but the tours were typically a year. He talked about 332 days was what he was in for when he started. But one of the interesting things I found was that you had two. I mean, they were very different movies. Obviously.
Very different.
Very different.
If you want to move about the Vietnam War experience, you'd watch Platoon. If Apocalypse Now was not about the Vietnam War experience.
By the way, they were 8 years apart. I know we didn't say this. 1979 for Apocalypse Now.
79.
1987.
Was it 86?
87.
Charlie Sheen was in Apocalypse Now, and he was an extra in a
he was. His dad was the main character in. So how weird is that? You got two movies where the main characters are Sheens.
And where are they from? By the way, where are the Sheens from? Dayton, Ohio.
The little D.
The interesting thing too is that even though they were sort of the main character, well, not billed as the main characters necessarily, but they were sort of the main protagonists that was being followed in both movies. They weren't.
Yes.
They weren't like anywhere close to being the best actors in the movies. They both were overshadowed by almost everyone else. Not that they were bad, but they just had so many other really good actors in both those movies.
This is true. And they were very different. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But Rotten Tomatoes has Apocalypse Now as 98% according to the critics, 94% according to the audience. And Platoon, you know how I like to do my Rotten Tomatoes. Platoon is 88% according to the critics, 93% according to the audience. Just
so
FYI.
Close fan poll. I just found them interesting that you couldn't have had two different main characters. Like, I agree that there were other characters that kind of outshined these characters at different points in the movies. But you have in Captain Willard, you've got he's a spook for one. He's a CIA operative, special forces. He's a signals intelligence and counterintelligence specialist. He's killed people before. He's a hardened veteran. He's a guy who's basically divorced his wife because he's on multiple tours. He can't relate when he's home. He's got PSD going into the movie, so right from the jump.
What I was going to say,
you said PSD.
He's messed up.
Yeah. PTSD
from the opening scene.
From the very beginning.
Scene. Yep, he punches.
He's got issues, but he's that dude is a hardened warrior. I mean, it's all about warrior ethos from the very beginning. With Chris Taylor, he is getting off the plane wet behind the ears and is immediately thrown into. You see dead bodies going home, and you see these veterans looking at you, and the look. There's some banter back and forth, but you just know just by him looking at this one guy that even if you come home alive, you are going to be different. You're going to be changed.
You lose humanity. Yeah, you lose some of your humanity.
So you have a completely green. You have the war experience from a completely green perspective, and you have the war experience from a guy who is a legit killer who has a mission to go after the most dangerous guy in the U.S. military.
So how many times do you
I have to drop off for a second, get my hot toddy mixed up to keep going.
In the meantime, can we talk about Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore?
Well, let's hold on.
What the hell is that about?
Didn't he?
We'll get to that.
Best supporting actor for this?
No, he was nominated. He didn't win it.
He didn't win.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me fact check myself here.
I heard that he did win, even though he was only in it for like 2 minutes.
No, he did not. It was Melvin Douglas, but he was nominated. He was nominated.
Quick question.
He was. But hold on. We're skipping ahead now. You're getting ahead. Let's talk a little bit about what we thought about the main characters in general and how they were portrayed, beyond the fact that there were better actors at times in the movies.
Well, I also thought it was interesting.
Who's your favorite character?
Harvey Keitel was supposed to be Martin Sheen's character, and I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. I mean, I think he's a good actor. It's just he doesn't seem like he would be a good fit at all for that role.
I don't know. Martin Sheen had a heart attack at 39 during the film of this movie and almost didn't make it.
Yeah, but he was solid for the role though.
He was crazy. He was legit. He was legit. You never thought for 1 second during that movie that he wasn't a badass.
Yeah, and like
not once.
I loved actually probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie was just not the bombing scene at the beginning, but when they showed the sort of like the trees with the orange and the yellow in the background, where they had his face on the left-hand part of the screen, where they showed the trees and the bright colors on the right side, like while they were playing The End at the beginning of the movie by the Doors.
Right.
And, like,
right.
That whole scene I thought was amazing.
I love the beginning of that whole movie.
Yeah.
That's just awesome. We'll get to best scenes and all that a little bit later. I'm always about kind of the main. If in these kind of movies, if the main character doesn't grab you, you're gonna have a tough time.
Yeah, I would say like overall too. Like I love both the movie. I know you don't like them both, but I like them both, but for completely different reasons. The biggest problem I think with Apocalypse Now is that you don't. I think people probably have a hard time relating to the characters. You don't really care that much about any of the characters. I mean, you just don't give a shit.
That's fair.
Whereas like in Platoon, I love every one of the people in that movie. You know, like even if the movie isn't better, I don't know if it's better or not, but I care. I know all the players, and I love all their performances. Even the people like. They were only in it for a few minutes. Like their performances were still amazing. And like
I thought actually one of the best performances in the whole movie was Johnny Depp. He was great in that movie. He was in it for like 5 minutes. It was great.
Lerner was good. Yeah.
I think it's totally fair because there are very few people that you really can kind of relate to at all, other than maybe the crew of the boat that Willard's going up the river with. And those guys seem the most normal, and they go through the biggest transformation in the whole movie from start to finish.
And
but Willard,
the most controversial thing that I remember you guys were arguing with me about on our last comparison was when I was saying the unsung hero main character of Die Hard was Harry Ellis, and in this and in Platoon, I thought it was Sergeant O'Neill because he was like that super annoying like. Asshole butt kisser who just everyone hates, but his performance was really good.
I thought the guy in Apocalypse Now, I thought it was the boat captain, because I thought the boat captain from the minute that dude gets on the boat, he thinks he's fucked. He knows he's fucked.
I like the chef
from the very beginning.
I thought the chef when he almost got eaten by the tiger, and he was going crazy after that. Right when he's like, never get on that fucking boat.
Never get out of the boat. Absolutely goddamn right. Unless you were going all the way.
I liked it when his head was cut off.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of the more sympathetic guys in the movie, but I thought
that was really good too. I thought his acting was phenomenal. He was one of the
don't you think he was a little overacting during the
he was. I thought he was all right, but
which scene? The part where he got scared by
when the tiger or the lion was there? I think he was overacting.
I don't think that was overacting. I thought that was one of the best acting scenes in the whole movie.
See, I disagree. I thought he was an overactor. He's the Jim Carrey of his day.
That was an amazing scene. Wrong.
There were some great. Actually, I thought there were some really underrated parts in Apocalypse Now with some of the characters, but I really thought the interplay between Willard and the boat captain and chief were some of the strongest in the whole movie, and that's one of the reasons. It's kind of a weird scene when the chief dies, but the reason he was so pissed that whole situation went down is because he knew Willard was trouble from the minute he got on that boat. But at the same time, he didn't listen. Willard told him at multiple points in the storyline, like, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And you've got a couple of alpha. It's not nearly like Barnes and Elias in Platoon, but you still had some kind of alpha male. Look, man, this is my boat. No, this is my mission. Interplay going on in Apocalypse Now.
Explain to me why the arrows went from non-deadly to deadly when the boat captain died. I don't understand that. I couldn't figure that out. All of a sudden, these arrows that weren't sharp, that were not causing damage, killed the boat captain.
Well, did you notice, though, what was great about it? I agree. It's one of the weirder and cheesier kind of scenes. But what's funny about it is they kind of wrote it tongue-in-cheek, because when the chief gets the spear through him, he looks down and goes, "A spear? Like, really, that's what's going to get me? After all this crap that we've been through, a freaking spear is going to kill me?" You know? But that was Colonel Kurtz's native army. And let's before we jump too far ahead in the storylines, let's talk a little bit about that. We have we have very different protagonists. We have very different antagonists in this too. I think it's pretty clear that Colonel Kurtz is kind of set up as this ultimate bad guy in Apocalypse Now. The whole movie is set up about this guy and how he turned from basically the best and brightest that our military can produce to this rogue leader. And then you got Sergeant Barnes, who's just
terminated with extreme prejudice.
With extreme prejudice.
I do like the way they said that.
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
Like that has ever happened. That makes no sense. When you
and that's that dude's only line in the whole movie. The civilian guides being, "Hey, Harrison Ford, by the way, pretty cool. Pops up in random movies."
Cool. How about Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, I was going to say. I liked when Morpheus offered Martin Sheen the red pill and the blue pill.
Okay, that's a different movie.
Definitely.
Clean, Mr. Clean. He was very young in that movie. Yeah, but we got two bad guys in this movie. Basically, you got Colonel Kurtz, Marlon Brando, and you've got Sergeant Barnes, Tom Berenger, the staff sergeant for the platoon, who is pretty awesome in his own right, good and bad. I mean, both these characters they're not as puddle deep as some bad guys tend to be in movies. So what did we think about these bad guys in this movie?
I mean, they don't stack up to the bad guys in Lethal Weapon because that set the standard.
All right, can you not mock Lethal Weapon?
That was the standard, right? I mean, all bad guys are set by that standard.
First of all, the bad guy in Platoon is way better than the bad guy in
Charlie is the bad
Apocalypse
guy in Platoon and in Apocalypse Now.
So all right,
which
you know what
I
mean.
Are you talking about?
Charlie, don't serve!
I'm talking about Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. Kurtz.
What was your favorite scene? What was your favorite?
Hold on. Just let me finish. He's nowhere near.
I have to let you finish.
Yeah. Well, he's nowhere near as good as Sergeant Barnes is as being the villain. It's not even close. He's just to me, he's not even a villain.
You know what?
He's just a quirky.
You know what I'm going to say though?
He's just a quirky weirdo.
No, that's not true. This is not true. This is not true at all.
Why was Jaws good? Why was the movie Jaws good?
First of all, I haven't seen Jaws since 1977.
Why was it?
Oh, that's going to have to be one of these movies.
Why was it a good movie though?
Because I would say the sharks or shark kills everybody.
You didn't see the shark.
Implied.
I have no idea.
It's implied.
Really, you didn't see the shark until really late in the game. So it's just the build-up. And that's what Apocalypse Now does really well is the build-up.
Not to me.
Build-up. Like, I love the scene when they're on the boat and he keeps looking at the picture of Kurtz, and he was, like the sun is, setting in the background and it's fading and then showing the close-up of the dark picture of him before he gained 80 pounds and couldn't be filmed all the way on the screen.
Did that happen?
Yeah. That's why.
He showed up. He showed up fat, out of shape, and basically an alcoholic. They almost couldn't put him in the movie. That they had to cut him short. That's why he's only in the very, very end of it.
And why they're only showing his face, which I think it worked. So it didn't.
I did too. I mean, it really, because he was already dying. He was basically dying by the time that
it was. What
do you mean? When he didn't die until the 90s? I thought.
No. I mean, the character was dying.
Oh, the character was dying. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the character was dying. So they basically made him. But I mean, the level. Holy shit! The level of implied violence from Kurtz versus Barnes isn't even.
He cut off the head of the chef.
You never saw him do it. You saw Barnes shoot that woman in the village, and you hate him from the minute he does that. The minute. But other than that, that's really the only thing that he does that's completely and colossally over the top. Like you saw Bunny, his boy, do something in Platoon, but you didn't really see. He's an asshole, but he didn't really do anything that was completely across the line until he shot that woman. Kurtz, on the other hand,
you see that head come apart.
Sorry, I was drinking there.
I thought Bunny was awesome in that movie too. In Platoon, he was really good. He played the crazy guy very well.
Oh shit! You see that fucking head come apart, man? I never seen brains like that before, man.
Yeah, the crazy number 2 lieutenant guy. But I mean, just the sheer level.
Kevin
of
Dillon,
violence.
by the way.
Yeah.
So
right.
Let's. I mean, everybody.
But to say that you can't. That the implied level of violence is not effective, I think is wrong, because Kurtz is a crazy person, and he pretty much laid it out why he felt like it was justified. But I thought Dennis Hopper's description. I mean, the great thing about it is not only do you when you get to the end of Apocalypse Now, you don't get thrust from like the river and all this shit and like the freaking Odyssey to get to Kurtz. You get Dennis Hopper telling you what's going on in this village, and he was fucking awesome in that movie. Awesome.
His acting was unbelievable in that movie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What movie that he's done isn't good though? I mean, the guy's an amazing actor.
No, it's true, but his role in that movie and the way he, portrayed that role was.
Have you seen Easy Rider? Easy Rider?
No, I haven't.
Oh man,
I've never seen Easy Rider. Never seen it.
You guys need to watch.
By the way, is Jason gone? Did he die? What happened?
He'll be back, man. He had to take care of something.
I was going to say he's been gone for a long time. Is this waiting on Jason or is this waiting on Diego?
Oh. So let's go back to Bill Kilgore for a minute. Let's talk about our buddy Bill Kilgore and the ninth?
The single best actor in this movie.
He was fucking awesome in this movie.
Yeah, easily.
He was absolutely fantastic.
Bizarre in this movie is what he was.
No, he was not.
Robert Duvall.
Dude,
Colonel
he had
Bill
people
Kilgore.
surfing while bombs were going off.
My favorite thing that he did was when he was acting all righteous when the guy didn't want to
and he took the water,
and he's like, anyone who can hold his guts while he's sitting there and hold his guts in his stomach
can drink
out of my canteen or whatever, and then like 2 seconds later he sees the waves and gets distracted and takes his canteen from the poor guy. It's just
well, not only that, but he's throwing
oblivious. And he's not doing it.
It's not even that.
He's just oblivious or doesn't care.
It wasn't even that. Like the one where he was basically throwing cards. He goes from throwing cards on the dead bodies to let the VC know who did it, to seeing the guy holding his guts in and giving the guy water. So like movie.
What was the most impressive thing that he did in this movie to you? Because to me, it's one thing. It's really clear. Both of you. The most impressive thing, the acting wise, that would have been hard to do that he did really well.
Acting wise, that he did, that would have been hard.
There was something that he did, and I liked his lines. I liked everything he did with his delivery, but there was something else that stood out to me even more.
Where he's acting, we meant with the bomb going off behind him.
Yes, where he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean he
doesn't even flinch for a second when fucking mortars are going off and right like 20 feet from him, he just doesn't even like flinch. How do you do that?
I don't know, but they blew a lot of shit up in that movie, man.
Well, no, but even if you know it's a movie, like there's an explosion going off, like there's still accidents.
Dude, they blew like 2 football fields worth of jungle up from that scene. Now, granted, it's the same scene from the very beginning in slow motion, but it's still fucking awesome. It's shot so.
Don't say iconically.
Cool. No, it's just cool. Like it was. I love the beginning. To me, the beginning scene of that movie is shot as cool as you can possibly shoot the movie.
No, it is. The cinematography.
And I kept thinking, like, if Michael Bay was directing this fucking movie, it would explode in the first 2 seconds instead of like the delay and the doors coming in and the whole fucking thing. It's like it was just built up so perfectly. It was awesome.
Michael Bay has done at least one good movie, hasn't he?
Michael Bay's done many.
I don't know, has he?
No, I mean like
has.
really legit movies because he like ruins most movies.
Yeah, he does. I don't even. I have to look at his film.
He's been worse lately than I
Didn't he-
think he was in the past.
Did he do Boondock Saints or something? I thought there was one movie he did that was actually good.
He has done. I think you guys.
That
are
was
not giving him
understated.
enough
Has he
credit.
ever? Has he ever been understated?
It must have been an early movie that he did. I don't have his IMDb up, but I remember I'm pretty sure that I was surprised when I saw that he actually did one movie that wasn't like completely over the top and shitty, like most of his movies are. And
I just found myself watching that whole scene when they take over. They basically hit that village just so they can surf, and that's the only reason they're going. Well, that and Willard wants to go in. He wants that as his insertion point anyway. But that wasn't the reason that Kilgore drops him there. He was there so that they could clear that beach so they could surf it. And that scene is amazing. I wish.
By the way, he directed. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just upset that you guys said what you said. He directed.
Fuck Michael Bay. Right in
he
his
directed
ass.
The Rock. He directed Bad Boys.
That was the movie, Diego.
He directed Armageddon.
Yes, The Rock.
He directed Bad Boys 2.
Armageddon's horrible. Bad Boys is horrible.
He directed. Hold on. I'm not done yet.
That was what I was talking about.
Horrible.
It was
those movies were good. Sorry.
Horrible.
Very good movies.
Horrible.
Armageddon
I mean, they're
was
entertaining,
good.
dude. They're not good. Wait a minute. Whoa. Entertaining is not good. Like, we're talking about two movies in Platoon and Apocalypse Now that were nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, major fucking awards because they were unbelievably shot and unbelievably well directed. I'm not talking about
What is your favorite war movie of all time?
I really liked.
Actually, if it's not one of these two movies, then because we're gonna give our rating for these later. But if it's not one of these, is there anything better you like?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that because I really don't typically like.
Did you see Bridge over the River Kwai?
I haven't seen that one in a long time. I think I was a kid when I saw that. I'd love to watch that one again because I love Sir Alec Guinness. I'd like to watch that one again. And trying to think, like, yeah, I kind of have a tough time because I watch a lot of when it comes to war stuff. I'd rather watch documentaries. So
Midway. Wait, who's in Midway?
I don't know.
Was that an old one?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone major is in it. But it's one of the it's the one where they had like that famous line where it's subtitled, but the Japanese general or whatever was saying, I think we've awoken a sleeping giant or whatever.
Yeah, and that is a true quote.
Yeah,
right. That is a true quote.
Yamamoto or whatever said that.
Yeah, Yamamoto.
And I was just wondering about this. I was thinking about this today because I was listening to a bunch of podcasts that were talking about how iconic this was.
Oh my God!
I swear
you
to
used that
God.
word.
Every single time I listen to a podcast, like I always listen to like a podcast of at least one podcast of every movie we're gonna review beforehand, just to see what other people think out of curiosity. And without fail, iconic is used in every single one. It's just like I swear it's the most overused word now. So I can't blame Brian anymore because like
oh sure you can.
Everyone is using it.
Yeah, I deserve it. Believe it.
All the cool kids,
He used it like 15 times more than the average person.
For Predator.
Our official podcast merch should have a T-shirt that just says "iconic."
Whoa! What is going on here? We have a fourth.
He just comes right back in. Hey, JJ's right on time, man.
I didn't know we had a fourth here. I thought it was just three of us.
These movies to me had these are different, but they had two major themes. They were basically both saying why we lost the Vietnam War, okay, in their own way. Platoon was a straight apology film to the soldiers that were in the field in Vietnam. Apocalypse Now to a lesser extent, but I want to know if you guys picked up on the two major themes of these movies. Each individually, one each.
Before I
about
get to
why we lost those movies.
I'll get to the theme, but I wanted
why
to
we lost the wars? You mean?
I was going to say the one thing that I like.
Why we lost the wars?
Because you know how like Oliver Stone is a huge American hater for the most part. He like blames America for everything. But I thought, surprisingly, being that he's like a huge lefty and blames America.
He's not a lefty anymore.
For everything. Well, he's communist, whatever. I mean, he blames America for everything. But I was surprised that a movie that he like his most famous movie. I don't think Platoon is an anti-war movie. It's just
it's not.
It's just a real. It's just a real. And the fact that
he wasn't in Vietnam. He wasn't in Vietnam.
He was Charlie Sheen. Like, he was in Yale. He dropped out of Yale and went in, and like that was his life story. So the fact that it was the first time someone who was a Vietnam or a war veteran of any kind, I think, directed a movie. I think that's the first time that ever happened. And
right.
I don't know if anyone has done it since, and you could tell.
Well, and Dale Dye, who's been in a shitload of movies. He was in this movie. He was the colonel. He was one of the main officers in the movie. Was in Vietnam as well. He was in
movie. Which movie?
He was in Platoon. Okay. And he was the military advisor on the film, and he's been in a shitload of stuff since then. But that's what made it had an air of authenticity for combat on the ground. But still, there was a very, in my mind, pretty heavy-handed theme of both of these movies about why we did not win that war.
We didn't believe in it. That? We didn't believe in why we were there and what we were doing.
What in which movie? Because they were both very different in how they told that story.
I don't think.
Platoon.
I don't think it was that they didn't believe in it. I just don't think anyone knew why.
I think now, looking back, we did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves, and the enemy was in us.
It wasn't.
The guys. You know, they sort of these movies
because of the
these movies insinuate these movies. No, these movies insinuate over and over and over again in their own way, in very different ways, why we lost that war consistently. And they're both very heavy-handed in it. Did you guys pick up on it?
Not heavy-handed.
Because we weren't committed to do what needed to be done.
That's kind of what, well, to some degree. In Apocalypse Now, it starts in the very first scene, and it keeps through the whole movie. And it basically talks Martin Sheen. I almost said Charlie Sheen. Martin Sheen, when he's in that hotel room going crazy in Saigon, he keeps saying, "I'm getting softer every minute," while Charlie's out there getting harder. And basically, he says it consistently. Charlie doesn't have the USO. They say it again and again and again. We are, as a society, too soft to fight that war and win it. And the whole purpose of what Colonel Kurtz symbolized, he even said it. He said, give me, 10 companies of guys with the resolution to, they told the inoculation story. He said, if I had 10 companies of guys with that kind of resolution, we could win this war. And that, whether you agree with it or not, that is the whole theme of Apocalypse Now, that we were not willing to do what it took to win that war. And those people defending their own country were willing to do anything to win it.
I get it now because you're gonna refer now. Hold on, sorry to interrupt. You're gonna refer to Sergeant Barnes and all the things he says along with some of the other guys in Platoon that basically they allude. Well, didn't they allude to that?
Well, when I was going through this, I was making notes, and one of the notes I had was Captain Willard and Sergeant Barnes would identify with one another. Like, they have the warrior ethos. Like, Sergeant Barnes did not fuck around. It's like, dude, you better get your shit tight or you're going to die out here.
Yo, saddle up, lock and load.
And there's no room for this shit out here. And that dude was, but the problem was you can't be a lone wolf guy like that and be the leader of a company or a platoon. He wasn't the leader. And that was the theme of Platoon that I saw over and over and over again was the failure of leadership. It was the weak Lieutenant Wilson, who really, don't you think I should be giving the orders, Sergeant Barnes? This fucking guy should give the orders in front of the Hey Bob, is this fucking guy going to make it? Hey Bob, is this, because I can look at a guy and just tell. Like, it was the failure of the lieutenant to stop the fucking murder in the village. It was the failure of the fucking captain.
That was Sergeant Red who said that.
Don't worry about it, Sergeant. Elias won't be able to prove a thing. He's a troublemaker.
Elias is a water walker. Like them politicians in Washington trying to fight this war with one hand tied around their balls.
But later, when their forward fire base is getting basically run over by the VC, Oliver Stone is a fucking commander in that, and he gets his HQ blown up by a dude running under with a grenade. And Captain Dye is whatever the fuck he is, and I forget his name in the movie, but he's obviously a leader of the fire base, and he basically calls down a fucking airstrike on his own position because they're fucked. So he's like, again and again and again, and even the dedication of the movies, like to the brave men and women who fought on the ground. The whole fucking movie of Platoon is saying we had brave enough soldiers, we had courageous enough soldiers on the ground, we had shitty leadership. And that's what I saw again and again and again, to the point where it's like, I got it. Quit beating me over the head with it. And both of them had that theme to it. It's like, we're not hard enough.
I don't know how much.
We're not didn't have leaders.
I don't know how much of it's leadership versus, well, their leadership may not have been good. I don't know how much you can blame the leadership when you have to fight with your one hand tied behind your back because politicians in Washington don't let you go into Cambodia and take out the Ho Chi Minh.
But that's not. And that isn't for 1 second what they talk about in these movies, though.
No, I know.
They don't go into the geopolitics, but they say basically that the Platoon is very clear that the commanders on the ground were shitty. Even Chris Taylor.
Do you think that the commanders were the reason why more so than?
I'm not judging. I will not claim to be a historian of the Vietnam War. I think there were a lot of problems with that war that started way before. I mean, it started with the whole idea that we had to be in there because dominoes were going to fall and everything in Southeast Asia was going to turn communist if we didn't stop it in Vietnam. And the Russians, meanwhile, just looked at that as a civil war.
So what you're saying is that we didn't fight the enemy, but we fought ourselves, and the enemy was in us.
That shit.
Yeah, that's right.
That is
what
the
is
worst.
That from? What is that
that's
from?
That's in the fucking Platoon, and it's the worst goddamn fucking monologue I've ever heard in a movie. I wanted
which part of Platoon is that?
That's when Chris Taylor was saying at the very end. His voiceover that was Letter to Grandma.
I hate that. I hate those voiceovers. Those monologues.
I didn't hate them, but
they both did it. Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen. That was so annoying.
Yeah, it was.
Usually the rule in good movies is you show, you don't tell. If you have to tell, that means you're not doing a good job.
Right. There you go.
Right.
But sometimes...
Ironically, both the father and son were...
I mean, sometimes you can do it. I didn't think it was horrible, but I thought, it could have been done better.
By the way, can I ask a question? When we picked these movies, did we purposefully pick them because Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen were...
We didn't. We picked them because they're both really good war movies.
I know, but how crazy is that?
I don't think they're both really good war movies.
I agree. I don't think they're both really good either.
Really? So none of you...
I don't either. I don't either, but we're falling on different sides here.
I only liked one of these movies.
I did too. I only liked one of the movies.
I'm guessing because none of you guys have done LSD that Apocalypse Now didn't get it for you?
I can't say that I have never taken LSD.
But listen, nobody took
Apocalypse Now does it for me. Like,
hold on. We're getting way ahead of ourselves now. Let's not give up the end of the fucking podcast here. So we've been through the themes, been all that shit.
Our listeners, our two listeners are dying here, B-Weave. They want to know what we think of the movies.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I know.
I'm in no hurry here. So what were the best scenes just from a movie standpoint? Not the storylines, not the themes, none of that shit. What were the best? Give me your favorite scene out of both these movies.
Jason, you go first.
Apocalypse Now, it's the helicopter attack to the theme of Flight of the Valkyries, which is really cool. Yep. I enjoy that. Well done, well shot. It's exciting. One of the few parts of the movies that's actually grasped my full attention. And then Platoon, the last battle when Firebase is getting overrun, when it's like insane, it's scary, it's exciting, and it's action packed and frightening. Like it's everything.
Where are you going to pull back to? They're all over the perimeter. Now you be advised, you will hold in place and you will fight. That means you, Lieutenant. Bravo 6 out.
Did you like when Charlie Sheen was grabbing Lerner out of the foxhole, and that was like sort of like his first heroic thing that he ever really did in the whole movie?
Well, then he went all but it's crazy.
Rambo,
the bad part about that, he ran out in front of everybody.
Right after King told him not to, too.
All around him.
So fucking annoying because King left and told him don't do that, and he fucking goes and does it.
But he survives.
Is it just me, or is out of both movies, is King like the coolest person in both these movies?
Yes.
By far, man.
Right? Like King
by
is
far,
like,
dude.
Who plays that guy?
Keith David is fucking a pimp, dude.
Person to like have a drink with, it would be him. That is one cool motherfucker.
Keith David. They live like
he's awesome.
Like he's been in so many good movies. Yeah, exactly. So
bad
you guys are insane.
The difference between
John C. McGinley, Sergeant O'Neill.
Well, O'Neill is the Harry Ellis of this movie.
He does. He plays it great. He plays a douche perfectly.
He does.
But he is not the best part of the movie.
He went on to play one of the Bobs in The Office. That was actually the same character.
Yes, he did.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
I wouldn't say I'm missing it, Bob. But what?
It's the same character. That was the prequel to Office Space.
Yeah, and
he was in Scrubs too, man.
He's
the best character.
He's a superstar, and a little bit of a hint. My favorite quote of the whole movie, I think, is from him. But that's neither here nor there. But I think that's like the crazy thing about. Platoon is just all about amazing. Apocalypse Now is all about amazing visuals versus Platoon is all about amazing characters. So
yes, I would agree. I think that's a good way to say that. And Forrest Whitaker's in Platoon. Freaking Candyman's in Platoon.
Candyman, Tony Todd or whatever.
Has Forrest Whitaker been under? I mean, the guy is like every movie he's been in for 20 years. He's like underutilized.
And awesome. Just
every single time.
But what was his best? What was his best role? What was his best role?
Color of Money. He was awesome in that movie.
Nope. Ryan.
I don't know, man. I'm not.
It's not his best.
Wasn't he some African leader? Wasn't he an African leader?
No, he won Best Actor.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That is his best role.
I don't even remember he was in that. That's crazy.
He's a star football player, and then
he was the big football player, but he wasn't a main role.
Dude, I haven't seen that movie. I have not seen a movie in 20 years.
Spicoli blows him away
because that movie is still relevant today and still well done.
That might have to be one of those we watch. Like maybe I was thinking like Fast Times at Ridgemont High versus like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something.
You guys are forgetting the Karate Kid.
All right,
that has to happen.
So that's going to happen. Hold on. All right, hold on. Yeah, favorite scenes.
So Jason did his. Diego, what's your favorite?
Did somebody say his? Okay, yeah.
All right, so my favorite scene is probably when they're in Apocalypse Now, when they're rolling in and all the natives are standing around looking at Martin Sheen and Chef and all them, and Willard's looking around going, what the hell did I just get myself into? And you're just like, wait a second, what does this have to do with Walter Kurtz? So I kind of like the way that scene unfolds, where he's just starting to realize what exactly is going on and where he is and what Walter Kurtz really is. And
you're the only person in the world who's ever
Platoon,
that scene from Apocalypse Now.
I thought that was a great scene.
It is cool, but it's just weird. It's almost like watching 2 or 3 different movies together, especially if you watch Redux.
Well, to be honest, I didn't like the scenes beyond that. I mean, with the exception of the head getting cut off, I thought Chef's head getting cut off was pretty shocking, and I liked it.
Right. But so let me ask you real quick: why was it shocking, Diego? Why was it? Why was it so important for Kurtz to cut his head off and give it to? Why was it so important for him to give it to Willard the way he did?
I mean, I don't know that I'll have as insightful a view of it as you do, obviously, but I'll say, I mean, it was setting the tone. Do you remember what Willard told him?
Remember what Willard told him? He said, if you don't hear from me in a certain amount of time, you call in the airstrike.
Right.
And Kurtz cut his head off, but then later you see the book where he calls, he asks, he's pleading with Willard to call in the airstrike, but it's all on his terms. And Willard was going to circumvent him, and that wasn't going to happen. The shit was going to happen on Kurtz's. That's why he was so badass, man. He was like, it was going to happen on his time or not at all. And if you try to fuck with me, I'm going to cut your dude's head off, and I'm going to put it in your lap. Like, he's a bad motherfucker.
All right, I got quick not to interrupt.
Hold on, I didn't say my favorite scene in Platoon.
I know, but I'm going to forget what I'm going to ask if I don't ask it real quick. Who can shoot better, Willard or Riggs? Who's the better shot? They're both like career assassins.
Assassins, man.
Right. That's Riggs. A good question. I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't see.
On our previous podcast, I think Jason was talking about I think it was in Predator, and Jason brought up, I would like to know about, some of the previous missions that Arnold Schwarzenegger's team had been on.
No, that's what I said. That's my whole idea for a prequel.
Yeah,
I think it'd be awesome to do something with that.
Awesome. We were talking about that, 2.5 years
to do
ago.
Willard's prequel.
Yeah, so
he's a bad motherfucker, man. He's a crazy person.
Waking up in hotel rooms, and I'm only inside.
Dude, my favorite,
and he's
favorite.
That dude has got to have like this wasn't his first assassin mission. I mean, the guy.
No, in fact, and he knows he's washed up. He knows he's at the end of his rope, and he knows this is a fucking suicide mission. He's the only person they're going to give it to. They even tell him this mission doesn't exist, so you're fucked if anybody hears about it. And yet he goes, I took the mission. What the fuck else was I going to do?
I mean, he's basically. Captain Willard is basically a lethal weapon here.
He's a lethal weapon. All right.
Well,
so
his Tai Chi is really lame.
So get to the your favorite part in Platoon, Diego.
My favorite scene in
Platoon. If I don't get one groan from JJ out of every podcast, then I'm not doing it right.
That's right. You're not doing it right.
My favorite scene from Platoon is when Charlie Sheen sucks on a gun. Because that apparently is a theme.
I knew that would be yours. There was gunflation. It has to be Diego's favorite.
How did it take 59 minutes and 38 seconds for Diego to talk about gunflation?
Why does every movie have a scene
started with
where
that?
a guy sucks on a gun?
Yeah.
What is going on with that?
We're gonna sell.
Hey Diego, put your mouth on this.
We're gonna sell a shirt for our podcast.
So
and it's gonna have the
put your mouth on this,
dude.
I like it. By the way, there's a woman in the room.
No, it's gonna be
so
one of those shirts that has like the picture of you have a picture of a person's face or whatever or their body, and they have like 6 pictures of it. It's gonna have a picture of a face.
John Malkovich. With a gun in his mouth.
From all these different movies with different guns in their mouths, and
it's going to say iconic underneath it.
Yes.
Yeah. It'll say the iconic Waiting on Diego podcast. Yeah. Put your mouth on this.
And he did too. He didn't even hesitate. He just.
Hey, when I saw that scene, I was like,
Elias, it's Jesus Christ and camouflage giving him the gun. Of course he was going to do it.
I assumed you guys had talked about this in advance and were like, all right, let's suggest this movie because it has that.
Because there's gun fellatio in it.
Yeah,
I thought you guys. That there's a weird problem in Hollywood where they have a lot of movies with this, and
I know, but who would have
never thought about it before, but all of a sudden it's apparent.
Gun fellatio is a big thing in movies.
When I was listening to one of the podcasts earlier today, they were talking about how in the 70s, and I guess now, and I guess this was technically written in the 70s too. Like this was written 10 years before it was actually made. I think it was written at the same time. Platoon was written at the same time as Apocalypse Now and Deer Hunter, but because those two movies came out, he couldn't get anyone to go forward with it. So that's why he had to wait several years to find.
Wait a second, hold on.
He didn't have much of a directorial track record either. He was a hell of a writer, but he didn't have many skins on the wall as far as movies that he had done either.
Hold on a second, guys. Let's
Oliver
go back
Stone.
to Platoon.
Oh, Oliver Stone.
How did Bunny ultimately die in Platoon?
He got shot by one of the VC at the end, right?
How did he die?
I don't remember. I know Junior got stuck with a bayonet. I don't remember what happened to Bunny.
I thought he was.
Bunny got shot and fell back in the foxhole. Then the VC soldier ran up, stuck the gun in Bunny's mouth, and pulled the trigger.
Nice. So we
First
had
of all,
two
Brian, where's your wife and kids tonight?
Yeah.
My wife actually. So what's funny is I told her I wanted to come upstairs, and she asked me to stay downstairs, but then she booted me upstairs halfway through the show saying I was too loud, and I said I told you. She goes, I don't know why you have to talk so loud. I'm like, well, because I want to make sure I can be heard on the fucking podcast.
Yeah, but normally she just likes to interrupt our podcast, and so do your kids. Tonight,
my kids have been asleep, which is good. But yeah, she's downstairs watching some fucking vampire show or some shit. I don't know, whatever.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's great. Anyway, so no, I'm good. But I am out of this last dirty little freak, and I'm gonna have to go downstairs and get another one here in a minute.
It's funny. I was gonna say at the very beginning, like I'm an hour late here, but I was gonna say at the beginning before we even started. So we're gonna do this podcast. We're gonna talk about these two movies. Jason is going to talk about every actor and the director and every movie they've ever made and every show that the actors have ever been in. And then Diego's going to talk about how Charlie Sheen is a freak and fucks guys and girls because he's a psycho. And then Brian...
I thought we were going to come to that sooner.
And then Brian... I know. And then Brian's going to actually talk about like the substance of the actual movie. And then I'm just going to like mock people.
That's why this works. That's why this works. We all have our roles.
Formula.
We all have our roles.
Yeah. All right, Matt. So what are your favorite parts of these two fucking movies?
So what was your two on Diego? We keep getting like off track.
Oh, Diego's been done for a while. We're good. We're past Diego's.
What were his though? So
obviously,
Gunfellatio.
And what was Apocalypse Now? It was the boat scene.
The scene where
the natives,
the fucking white ghost army of the Ghost Navy. I'm sorry, of Kurt's Ghost Navy.
Just seeing the Navy, is that it?
Yeah, just seeing naked dudes in paint and white paint.
All the random like
reminds them
natives
of being back in
who
Portugal.
are somehow somehow have allegiance to some white guy named Kurt.
He was the devil, man. He was the fucking devil.
He was. White devil.
White devil.
Dennis Hopper.
White devil.
So my favorite scene.
Heads, man.
White devil. White devil.
My favorite scene is different than my favorite quote. So
we're not doing lines right now. So do your. What's your favorite scene?
So like scenes are different. So
it'd be much cooler if you were.
Yeah. My favorite scene was probably it's not like anything that's like I guess too amazing, but like right when they get to the bridge in Apocalypse Now.
Oh, you asshole! You're taking my scene.
When like the fireworks are out there and you see
fucking awesome.
The one guy with the what's the guy with the camouflage all over his face where he does the Predator paint. And,
shit! Hold on a second. I got it. Hold on.
And he's and they're just sitting there. He's like just took a bunch of acid, and they're just pulling up there where all the guys are like coming off of the
Lance loses his fucking mind. He's tripping, dude. He dropped acid.
Surfer.
He's tripping sack. And
he's got the puppy and he's got the face painted.
And they're just pulling up to that whole scene was just so amazing. Like I just felt like I was there watching that scene. That was like the
soldier. Soldier, who's in charge here?
Yeah.
Ain't you? Ain't you, motherfucker?
Yeah. And so
I love that shit, dude.
To me, like for some
Roach.
reason.
Who's the commanding officer here?
Ain't you?
I love that scene.
I mean the other part of me would say like in the Redux the Playboy Bunny scenes where the girl.
Colleen Camp's fantastic titties.
Actually, you know what? Aside from that, I actually really liked the scene where the Playboy Bunnies came in and they were like in the center where they had like the water around everything. And, and they were dropped in and they were doing their little show and dancing for a little bit, and then all the guys went crazy and they only got to do their show for like 2 minutes. And I mean that scene for whatever reason I thought it was done really well. Like you just see how like the guys had just sort of like lost.
They lost their minds.
They lost their minds and like all they cared like about was like Primal Instinct.
And there was a couple of scenes like that. That scene and the other one on the beach when they hit the village and they took and Bill Kilgore takes the cow and they have the cow roast right on the beach and Willard makes that comment. He says the more you make it like home, the more he made everybody miss it. And he was looking at him and it was like that study of that dude. Like there was no leader in Platoon like Kilgore. As fucked up as he was, like he loved his boys and he was going to take care of them. But Willard even says, he's like, this is that kind of motherfucker that walks out of this war without a scratch, but that was really interesting how they did that whole thing.
Okay. But how ridiculous was the scene where he had the recorded voice and he was going up and down the river saying, it'll be okay if you just give me back my surfboard.
Yeah.
Right.
That was awesome too.
You know how hard it is to find a board you like. I will not hurt for one. Just give me back the board.
Right? Everything he did was like, I'm taking charge. I know what's going on. Elias was a good leader, but he was much more quiet about it and reassuring, like, hey, it's cool, man. Just don't do that shit again. And it wasn't, those were the subtle things. And I think both Willem Dafoe and Charlie Sheen did a great job in that scene. But Willem Dafoe was really, really good at those like quiet, reassuring kind of things. Like I didn't like his dialogue that much, but those scenes were phenomenal.
You know, this movie reminds me a lot of Walking Dead. Did you guys watch that?
I watched it for like 2 or 3 seasons, and I couldn't just keep up with it anymore.
I watched Fear the Walking Dead, and I've watched every episode of Walking Dead.
You guys have all seen the first season of Walking Dead?
I saw the very first episode, and then I was like, no, because the little girl
that was
got
the best
killed.
episode of the entire series. So you went on a good
Brian
note.
is the only person that doesn't understand what I'm talking about. But
I hate everything, so keep that in mind when you ask me about pop culture references.
So what I was going to say, the comparison to this movie and to Platoon to Walking Dead is how at the beginning of Walking Dead you had Shane, who was considered, you know, a little over the top, kind of an asshole because he's like willing to do whatever it takes to survive. And at the beginning of Platoon, everyone is kind of resentful sometimes of Tom Berenger because Barnes, he like does mean shit sometimes. It's, you know, it makes sure that the machine functions like it's supposed to. It doesn't.
Well, but he's also a war criminal too.
Yeah, but he makes sure that everyone follows their orders and it doesn't break down.
Well, he didn't follow orders. He was a war criminal. He freaking murdered people, a lady.
Yeah.
Just because he couldn't stand her screaming anymore.
Well,
yeah, he did.
Well, now hold on. Now,
so, but the thing though is,
as much as
the comparison, real quick though, is Shane in the first season of Walking Dead was like considered, you know, this evil person because he's, you know, he's willing to do like a little bit over the top things to stay alive, whereas at the end, like, you know, what are we at season 7 now or something, and like now Rick, who was the one who killed him, and Rick was like goody two shoes kind of at the beginning, who was sort of like Charlie Sheen, and he, you know, he's like, I'm not going to do anything wrong, I'm always going to do like the right thing, and you know, at the end, you know, Charlie Sheen kills Barnes, and while Barnes has maybe deserved it, is everyone still here?
Yeah, we're still here.
Okay. I keep hearing like these.
I don't know where you're going with this tangent, though, but I'm with you, man.
What I'm saying is Barnes gets killed by Charlie Sheen at the end, even though he deserved it. He, you know, it sort of takes someone who's willing to look at the overall scheme of things. You know, like we can't let, you know, the evil guy continues to survive because
both movies
and he's not
both these movies
do it if we don't take him out.
Both these movies the good guy takes out the bad guy, right? Both of them.
Wait, whoa! In Apocalypse Now, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
Willard is
really that bad of a guy. He was.
Willard's the protagonist.
Willard's not the bad guy in my opinion.
Willard's the good guy.
Willard obviously is the good guy, but I mean, Kurtz is not the bad guy.
Is the bad guy.
I don't see it that way.
He is the bad guy. There's no other antagonist. He was killing indiscriminately hundreds of people and needed to be put down. You don't have to. It's implied.
I know, but that's the hard part.
Dude, you see a scene where they're napalming a fucking hole full of bodies. There are heads all over his temple. He is a fucking mass murderer. Now,
right, but how do you know that those people aren't Viet Cong or?
How do he does it? Dennis Hopper tells you he's killing everybody. He kills BC. He kills North Vietnamese. He kills Cambodians. He kills whoever he fucking needs to get his point across. He goes. He even says he takes it too far. Dennis Hopper's words.
What was the most
maybe so, but
most unrealistic scene in both movies?
The surfing
during a
firefight is ridiculous.
Charlie, don't surf.
And you know, in Platoon, I don't know. I think Charlie Sheen watching the North Vietnamese come closer and closer and closer, and he's completely awake. And he doesn't do anything.
He's scared shitless. The one that bugged me.
But that would never happen.
Yes, it would.
The one that bugged me.
He's a green guy. It's like his first time out in the bush.
Doesn't matter. You would fire.
No.
The one that bugged me more than anything was the ultimate scene in Platoon where Berenger, before the bomb strike, when he when Charlie Sheen's walking up on him, he turns around and he comes up and he's got the fucking devil's eye and the knife's above him and the bomb strike. Like all that was so. That one was horrible.
That was like a shovel, wasn't it?
What's that?
Wasn't he holding like a shovel?
Yeah, a shovel.
A shovel, but whatever he was going to stab him with. And that scene and the Elias death scene were so fucking overdone. I could not even stomach them. Jesus Christ.
I think the shovel scene was worse. And actually, the Elias scene, the only thing that bothered me about that, even though it was like, he kept getting shot or whatever, everything's still
in front of the church doing the Jesus, my arms are spread open like a cross in front of the fucking church.
It still didn't bother me until the very last part of it, because when he fell down and his legs sort of came up in the air, that was the only part of it that actually. There's a difference between believable and looking realistic.
You mean it didn't bother you that he got shot 8,000 times before he died?
No, it did, but I'm saying the part where he, at the very end of it, where he fell down and his legs sort of flipped up in the air, that kind of looked fake. But it was looking realistic, sort of, even though it was unbelievable. It looked realistic until like the legs like flopped up at the end, like that kind of looked ridiculous.
The one that really bothers me the most by far in Apocalypse Now is the fact that the ox was actually slaughtered. Like that was an actual,
that was a ritual.
Really, it was a ritual killing, and they actually filmed it. It was horrible. Now I thought actually the ending scene, like it was beautifully shot.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But what's crazy was how I love the implied violence of the attack on Kurtz. I love that. You didn't see any of it.
Apocalypse Now was amazing. I love that scene.
See, I disagree completely.
But I did not like that they actually killed that animal.
Between Martin Sheen hacking him with the fucking machete and then
how about the fact he doesn't protect himself?
He doesn't want to.
I don't
you
buy
get
it.
that, right?
I don't buy it.
He wanted to die.
I don't buy it.
Willard even explains it to you at the end. He was dying of malaria. He didn't want to die. He tells you why it happened that way.
Oh, so
Willard wanted him to kill him.
So he's got to cut off a guy's head first before he gets assassinated.
He's got to drive.
I told you. He put it in the.
He wanted to.
Diego, let me explain this to you. In the book, he knew that Willard would look over his stuff after he had killed him. In the book, he wrote, basically drop the bomb on all of these people. All of them deserve to die. But it had to be on his terms. Willard was going to do it on Willard's terms, and that was unacceptable to Kurtz. Everything had to happen for Kurtz. Kurtz needed somebody who could go back to the States and tell his story to his son. That was the whole reason he kept Willard alive. Hopper even says he's got plans for you. He tells you the whole story. He let him kill him. He was ready for him to die.
No, I know he let him.
Willard tells you why he did it, because he wanted to go out like a soldier. He didn't want to die of freaking malaria in this.
Well, hold on, but if he went out with a bomb, he wouldn't be dying of malaria.
He was never going to let that happen unless it was going to happen on his terms. And however it happened, whether it was getting hacked up or whatever, you can fault how the death actually happened, but it was going to be Willard who was going to kill him.
Brian,
I know. I just
Brian,
don't.
What was your most
doesn't seem
unrealistic
authentic.
scene in Apocalypse Now?
There's a lot of kind of unrealistic scenes in it. I didn't really like. There was a couple of them that were overdone. I thought the one where Mr. Clean gets killed and his mom's tape is playing at the exact same time that he gets killed. That was obviously for effect. And then Chief freaks out because Clean's blood's on his hands. That was part of the reason that he freaked out on Willard when he died. There's a lot of shit that's over the top in that movie, but I don't know. It's a little bit different. I don't know that movie was trying to be as realistic as Platoon was.
It wasn't.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up. We've gone an hour and a half here.
We're almost done. But so, has everyone done like their worst scenes?
Yeah, so we need to get to lines. What are our favorite lines?
I haven't done my worst scene yet.
For Christ's sakes.
Jason, did you do your...
Wait, worst scene or best scene?
Worst scene. We're doing most unrealistic scene.
Unrealistic? I mean, there's always a lot of unrealistic scenes.
Both movies, most unrealistic.
All right, well, I already said the surfboard scene in Apocalypse Now.
What about Platoon?
I already said the scene where Charlie Sheen is watching VC come up on his ass and does nothing.
Yeah, Diego already said his. Go ahead, Matt, since you're itching to say it. So go ahead, man. You go first.
In Apocalypse,
you go next.
In Apocalypse Now, the most unrealistic scene. God,
the spears. Spears are pretty unrealistic.
Yeah, that's pretty
spears
unrealistic
are bad.
Too. Good
spears are bad.
Spears are bad.
Spears are bad.
A lot of unrealistic in that movie.
Yeah, I think that's kind of not the point.
All right, Matt.
Yeah,
I mean, it has to be.
Let's go. If you're not ready to roll.
No, I mean, I know Platoon. It's Apocalypse Now. I wasn't sure. Like Platoon. I mean, I guess Apocalypse Now would be the surfing stuff, but I mean, I don't really care because I thought that those were some of my favorite scenes, also, which is kind of weird. So it's most realistic, but also some of the coolest scenes. But like my biggest thing, I guess with Platoon. Really, the only scene I thought that was sort of unrealistic was at the very end when they showed the big crater and all the bodies were like aligned perfectly in a circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that was it.
Right.
Like, that was like, I mean, it's too perfect. It was kind of like in Game of Thrones, where
I did like how they. It was kind of over heavy-handed, but I did like how they started and ended with death. You know, like they, when you first get off the green soldiers get on, you come off the transport plane and you're greeted with death, and then at the end they're dead, but they're obviously it's VC, but it doesn't matter. It's basically the whole movie's surrounded with death. The whole experience in Vietnam surrounded by death. All the movies are just fucked up from start to finish. So let's wrap this thing up. Let's go to our best lines. What are our favorite lines? JJ, what were your favorite lines from the movie?
Apocalypse Now, man, like everything is so, any of the decent lines are so overdone. Like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, the horror. I mean,
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. You know, one time we had a hail bomb for 12 hours. When it was all over, I walked up. We didn't find one of them, not one stinking dink body. Smell! You know that gasoline smell? The whole hill. Smells like victory.
Well, I think, I can't remember the exact line. I'm not going to look it up on IMDb because I don't care enough. But essentially when the Viet Cong guy who was like, had a tin pot to his belly and his innards were getting out, and like nobody would give him a canteen, and like he's like, hey, guy, anybody that'll do this or whatever can drink out of my canteen anytime or something.
Bill Kilgore.
Like that, whatever.
All right, so what's your favorite Platoon line?
I don't know. Anytime Johnny Depp is speaking Vietnamese.
He was convincing, right? All right, actually, Matt, what were your...
No, he did pretty good job. I mean, he didn't have that many lines.
I missed his Apocalypse line. What was
it? The one with the canteen line. Diego, what were yours? You go next.
So, I was going to say I love the smell of napalm in the morning because that's the obvious choice. I mean, it is. It's the obvious choice. I don't know that these movies were really great.
Dude, there's so many awesome lines in these movies, man. Apocalypse Now has awesome lines in it too. Both movies have great lines.
Yeah,
I know. But
I'm not even talking about the ones you even know.
I mean,
I had probably half a dozen lines in both these movies that were awesome.
Platoon has the most out of every movie I can even think of. I think there's more lines in Platoon than almost anything. Like Full Metal Jacket is the movie I can think of that has more lines than this movie.
All right, well, Diego, go ahead, man. You spit your shit.
I mean, I don't really have anything. I was going to say...
You didn't have any from Apocalypse Now? Well, that's fine. So what's your favorite one from Platoon?
Favorite line from Platoon? I mean... it's a good question. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I didn't write anything down, so...
Take the pain. Take it.
How come all you guys sit on your helmet? You don't get a ball blown off.
Take the pain.
Yeah, man, that's a good... but that's not that great of a line. I mean...
It's not.
It's a line, but it's not that great of a line.
Should we come back to you?
I mean, Death. What do you know about Death? When Behringer's berating all the guys.
I shit on all of you.
Should we come back to you? Do you want to look up some stuff?
What do you all know about Death?
You said you liked Doc. Doc always had good lines, like it's bad vibes, and I got a bad feeling about this, or whatever.
I don't know. I didn't find them to be that great a line.
To favorite lines, I think we should all do our favorite person in the movie too.
Jesus, man! I mean, this is crazy.
That's
Keith
easy.
David, both movies.
What?
Yes, by far. Keith David was fucking awesome.
Both movies.
Matt, go ahead, man, because Diego doesn't have his shit. So go ahead, man.
I honestly was not that impressed by the lines in the movie.
You're high. It was the best part of both those movies had awesome lines in it. Fucking awesome. Awesome lines. Left and right in those movies. Left and right.
Cocksucker, oh wow.
All right,
Matt,
my favorite line in Platoon was when Red said, "Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately."
So I wouldn't say
is that supposed to be a great line?
Wouldn't say I've been missing.
Oh God. You're missing it, Diego.
Oh, that's Office Space.
Yes.
But also, my favorite line from Platoon was also from Sergeant O'Neill, Bob, where he said, "Bob, I got a bad feeling on this one, all right? I mean, I got a bad feeling. I don't think I'm going to make it out of here. You understand what I'm saying here to you?"
See, but that's not really a great line. That's just a line.
Sure. No, I know. You know what? It's funny.
Dude.
I agree. Right. I agree. It's not a great line. It's just that line, for some reason, the way he delivered it, stuck out in my mind for some reason. I don't know why.
Jesus, man, I'm disappointed in you guys. I really am.
Well, look,
I don't know.
I'm fucking disappointed,
really
man.
He is my Harry Ellis, man. He's my hero.
He's
the undersung hero of Platoon. He's the Harry
Here's some
Ellis
great
of the
ones.
show. Hold on. Well, let me get my
since you shithead are like.
Let me get my Apocalypse Now line is, "I will not hurt or harm you. Just give me back the board, Lance. It was a good board, and I like it. You know how hard it is to find a board you like? Best line in the movie."
All right,
man. You guys are pissing me off, dude. All right, so here. I'll give you. I'm gonna give you 3 from each one of these fucking movies since you guys didn't come prepared at all.
I'm prepared.
From Apocalypse Now.
I like the
those lines are
lines.
Those lines are shit.
I mean, my favorite line is obviously I love the smell of napalm in the morning, which I call up Nate every single time we beat Michigan, and I tell him that every single time.
That's right.
But I mean, that's the best line in the movie. But I like
that is.
I like the I like the lines that are a little bit different.
All right. So
give us your shit, bitch.
All right, man. So here's a great one. Apocalypse Now. Willard talking about Kurtz. Charging a man with murder here was like handing out speeding tickets at the Indy 500.
Yes, I love
That's a great one.
I love that.
The bullshit piled up so high in Vietnam, you needed wings to stay above it. The other one at the bridge, which was my favorite part of the whole fucking movie, when he talks to Roach, who freaking single-handedly takes that guy out with a grenade launcher, he says, "You know who's in command here?" And Roach says, "Yeah," and turns around and walks away.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene in the movie when they were coming up there, just seeing the flare and everything, coming up to the bridge, and they were destroying it every night. And
Kurtz, are you an assassin? I'm a soldier. No, you're an errand boy sent by grocery clerks to collect a bill.
Okay, that is a great line. I'll give you that.
And then the other one, there's another one that's great at the very end. Kurtz's final line. They train young men to drop fire on people, but their commanders won't allow them to write "fuck" on their airplanes because it's obscene. That's the last thing he says before he dies. That's pretty fucking badass. Platoon, there's so many great ones. King has like freaking 10 of them on his own. I love.
Awesome.
Yeah. He was a crazy fucker giving up college. And he says, the poor always get fucked over by the rich. Always have, always will.
Yep.
And then he's got, there's the other one. Man, there's a way out of everything, man. Just keep your pecker hard and your powder dry and the world will turn. There's no such thing as a coward out here. Don't mean nothing, my man. I mean, that's right before he goes crazy and goes Rambo on everybody. But I mean, and then my favorite one of probably the whole fucking movie is Dale Dye, the commander of the forward fire base. When he's fucked, he goes, "It's a lovely fucking war. Bravo 6 out," right before the fucking bomb hits. I mean, there are so many good lines in those movies. That's actually one of the better parts about those movies. It salvages you from wanting to kill yourself after watching them. The acting was really good.
Some of those were good. Some of those are good. I'll give you that.
So anyway,
not a big fan of a lot of them, but
let's score them.
All right, let's go to the ratings.
We got buku movement.
All right, who's starting?
Well, Matt, since it was his fucking idea to do these goddamn things.
Well, I was gonna say too. The other thing that I had written down was, I mean, it's not like an amazing quote, but I had written down. I like when he said, "Every minute Charlie squats in the jungle, he gets stronger."
Yep.
It was just there was just like a lot of really intense scenes in
yeah. These movies were hard, man.
Yeah, they were like
hard,
just
dude.
Like
hard.
I love both these movies, and really the big difference between Apocalypse Now 2 and Platoon is you can have a great movie, and you can have a movie that has really good, I guess if you want to rate it in rewatchability, and Platoon is like one of those movies you could watch it a million times. It doesn't make it better than Apocalypse Now, even though it may be better than Apocalypse Now. But Apocalypse Now is like a movie I can watch like once every 5 years because it's such an intense movie.
Right.
But it doesn't make it like any worse. It's just not a movie that you can watch all the time. Whereas Platoon, I can watch it like twice a day. Like, I mean, it's just such a fucking fun movie.
All right, guys, it's time to wrap
Let's
this
do the
thing
rate
up.
it.
All right,
Let's
rate it. All right, who's starting?
I'll fucking start. Apocalypse Now. 3 out of 10.
Wow, 3 out of 10.
Napalm in the morning.
Give me a break.
I do not care for the movie at all. I think it doesn't know what it wants to be. I know what it wants to be, but it doesn't do a good job of
have
what
you,
it wants to
in
be.
fairness, JJ, I will ask you, have you seen Redux? I know it's 4 hours long, but have you seen the long version?
No.
It is more coherent, but it's fucking 4 hours long, man.
Listen, I don't like this movie for a lot of different reasons. One, I fucking hate Jim Morrison and the Doors. It starts and ends with that goddamn song. The end.
See, that was
So we're not.
I think music makes
we're not
the movie,
starting off well.
and
We're not starting off
Jason
well.
has horrible taste in music.
No,
any Vietnam
maybe it's just
any Vietnam era movie is going to have great music.
Who played Jim Morrison in the Doors? So I think maybe that's
right.
Sort of why he hates.
One,
all right.
I don't also like them slaughtering a water buffalo on film. If they slaughter,
that did bother me. That was harsh, dude.
What do you guys
Sorry, what do you rate? What do you rate Platoon?
I give Platoon an 8 out of 10 rice patties. I think it still holds up. I think it's got a great cast, better lines, more coherent story, more realistic interpretation of what it was like in Vietnam. And I would watch that. I think I like the soundtrack better. I would rather watch that. I forgot how good of a movie it was, and all the people that were in it. I was pleasantly surprised seeing it again after so many years. So, boom. Fuck
all right,
Apocalypse Now.
I'm going to go. I'm going to give Apocalypse Now 5.5 fat Brandos. And I'm going to give Platoon 8.0 dead VC.
Wow.
Nice.
What was your Apocalypse rating, Diego?
5.5.
Damn.
All right, who's next?
All right, Matt, go ahead, man.
Well, since I'm not 100% sure, I'm going to have to say my quote that I forgot to say, which was, Billy, the other day, I was going down on my girlfriend.
No.
I said to her, geez, you got a big pussy. Geez, you got a big pussy. Why'd you say that twice? I didn't.
Oh, boy.
You guys thought I forgot, didn't you?
I must have missed that one.
Anyway, let's see. Did you give your ratings yet, Brian?
No,
I have not.
Turn.
I'm waiting on you, man.
You know what's funny? It's like as much as preparation as I did for this, the ratings were the hardest part because I keep going back and forth on it because they're so fucking. Both movies are really hard to rate.
All right. So I have a feeling I'm the opposite here. I really did not like Platoon. I hadn't seen either one of the movies in a long time, but I watched Apocalypse Now first, and the first time I ever saw the movie, I saw Redux. So Redux is better, but I was not going to sit through 4 hours of that shit again. So I watched the original one, and then I watched Platoon, and I just found myself like totally fucking epically depressed by Platoon. And I thought it was so heavy-handed. I just thought they were weird movies to even put together. It was almost like maybe like Apocalypse Now and Deer Hunter versus like Full Metal Jacket and Platoon. I could see they're so different. It was hard, but I liked Apocalypse Now better. I'm going to give it 5 out of 6 confirmed kills. Because I say fuck your 10
5 out of
10
6
scale.
Really?
No, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not watching this movie anytime soon. But I don't care if I never see fucking Platoon again. I give that 32 out of 332 days left on this fucking
nice
adventure. So, no, I did not like Platoon at all. I will never watch that movie again. I cannot believe that fucking won Best Picture.
Alrighty.
Really, really overdone.
You also didn't like The Warriors, so.
I did not like The Warriors. You're right. So my taste sucks. So I'll freely admit that. And I hate it.
You have a specific taste that goes counter to mine. And that's okay, though.
That's all right.
Okay. You like grandmas. I like younger grandmas.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Matt. Come on, man. Let's wrap this thing up.
All right.
We know we're cock blocking Diego, but we do need to let him go.
All right. For Platoon, I'm gonna give it. God, like the hardest part is deciding which one I like better because, unlike you assholes, I like them both almost the same. Just because growing up, these were two of the movies that I watched the most. I mean, I watched probably Platoon more, but.
Well, this is pretty big because basically Jason and I cancel each other out because he hated it. We hated that. So it's basically you and Diego who are deciding this fucking thing.
Yeah, it's really tough because I'm going to probably go with Platoon a little bit more. I don't know why. I really like them both, though. I'm going to go with, let's see, Platoon I'm going to give a... I'm going to give Platoon a 9.2 Take the Pains out of 10.
Yeah.
And Apocalypse Now, I'm going to give a 8.5 horrors out of 10.
I heard in the background the girl giving Diego shit about the time, by the way.
No, that wasn't Diego. That was my wife giving me shit about it.
Oh,
so it is time to...
I am here.
Tell Granny to calm down, take her teeth out.
I will not be saying that.
All right.
I will not be saying that. Let's finish this up, though.
All right, guys. Are we done?
So which one won? What was the winner? I don't even know.
Oh,
was
I think
Platoon?
it's pretty obvious Platoon's
the winner. All right, so Platoon is the winner, so Diego can never watch Platoon again. So what was our punishment for that one?
Did we
decide that's a Tom Berenger movie?
For the rest of his life.
I picked the winner. How is there a punishment for this?
Because that's how this works. We went over
it's your show, man.
So,
we're gonna have to change this.
So what's your punishment movie?
This is your show.
Jason, what's the punishment?
Oh, that's right. Jason gets to pick it.
Guys, if we want anyone to listen to our podcast, we might want to go under 2 hours. It's been an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, if you quit interrupting me, we can get this thing done.
We're finishing now. So JJ, what's the punishment movie for next week?
All right. So, do you have Amazon Prime, Diego?
He has Cody. It's fine. Whatever you want.
Or YouTube.
Exactly. I have Cody.
The 80s were a peak of a couple of different styles of movies. Breakdancing.
Oh, God.
Midgets on film.
Midgets and breakdancing?
Tell me it's midgets breaking.
Right. How about we take the movie?
Electric Boogaloo.
And
Beat Street.
Ninjas. And ninjas.
All right,
80s are known for breakdancing, midgets, and ninjas. This movie has one of those three in it. You will go to YouTube. The whole movie is on there. It's a movie called Ninja Terminator, and you will watch it.
You're making us watch the shittiest movies of all time.
That's probably the point, Diego.
Oh, my God. Oh, this is just the one I have to watch?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, my God. All
I've
right.
seen it, and I'll know if you lie about it. Because I will ask questions directly about
Whatever.
it.
We'll discuss this later.
Ninja Terminator.
So
all right, boys.
But what movie are we gonna? What is our gonna be our comparison?
Oh, that's a good. Thank you for bringing that up.
And
since we're in a war,
who is deciding this? Whose turn is it?
I'll step up and pick this one.
All right.
Since we are doing a little bit of a war theme, it's a continuation of a war theme, but this is way better because we're talking 80s icons here. We're talking Rambo versus Commando.
I like that.
Which Rambo?
Rambo.
First one.
The second one, not First Blood.
Well, the third one
Part
is kind of
2.
over the
First
top.
Blood Part 2.
No, we're not doing the Mujahideen. We're doing
Rambo
Back to
First Blood Part 2.
That was
Rambo.
That was kind of the most over the top movie, though.
Yes, it is. But we're doing Rambo. He's going back to Vietnam. He's going to win it for us this time versus Commando.
I'm excited. You know what? I was bummed out about this whole podcast and not inspired about this set of movies. You just changed all that for me. Thank you.
Sweet. Let's get it on.
I may like grandmas now.
You know why Jason is excited is because he knows that after next week when we do our next podcast that Diego's going to have to watch Rambo Part 10 for him.
Okay, we've already decided what I'm watching, so let's
Ninja Terminator.
No, but
let's wrap it up.
The next punishment, the Rambo Part 10, it's going to be awful.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up, guys. Let's wrap it up.
Diego, hey, good luck,
Diego,
brother.
wrap it up, Diego. I mean that more than one way.
All right, so until the next episode that no one will watch,
because it's a podcast, they have to listen to it.
Yeah.
This is that no one will listen to. Sorry.
Yeah, baby.
This is Diego Garcia signing off for Jason, Matt, and Brian. And thank you for listening.
Peace out.
Yeah, you guys.
All right, guys. See ya. Bye.
You guys kind of suck.
All right.